pleasant good evening to all my followers, all my friends, all my well-wishers, those who are listening for the first time, wherever you are located in the world. Welcome to your favorite knowledge channel, to those who are familiar with the channel, and those who are listening in and viewing for the first time. My expectation is that you will identify this channel as your favorite channel. So it's always my pleasure on a weekly basis to come before you to share a word, alright? And this week is no different from all of the other weeks. And firstly, we always start off with a motivational word. We talk about the services that we offer, we do the presentation, and then we remind you of the services that we offer. So the motivational word for today is identifying and understanding your fears is a step in the right direction for attaining peace of mind and living a productive life. So I repeat, identifying and understanding your fears is a step in the right direction towards the attainment of peace of mind and living a productive life. So I would like you to reflect on this statement, because when we are fearful, and we as human beings, we all have many fears, and fears can be very paralyzing and debilitating in that it stalls our forward march, alright? And I'm saying that, you may be able to reflect on your own, or you may need professional assistance. Whichever road that you choose to follow, it is very, very important that you attain that stability and that control, right? Even though you may not be able to totally eliminate your fears, but being fully aware and being able to manage it so that it doesn't interfere with your peace of mind and your productivity, I think is very, very, very important. Because when most of us are on our best performance, it means that not only ourselves and our families will benefit, but the society as a whole. So I will go into greater detail in the presentation, but at the same time reminding those who are listening and viewing that our organization, Motivational Speaking International Limited, we offer psychosocial support, and especially in the times in which we live, people are so overwhelmed with so many fears that have been exacerbated by the COVID-19 experience that we are all living through. And the economic challenges, the health challenges, you name it, the social challenges, people are very fearful. So if it is that they require psychosocial support, our organization can certainly provide that service for you. If you want to become more eloquent in presenting information, we run public speaking courses, we do leadership training, we do teamwork, customer service, we do cooperative development. We also engage in topics such as the role of psychology in business, emotional intelligence, conflict resolution, entrepreneurship, among a host of other areas. And of course, we offer one-on-one life coaching sessions. So our services are indeed relevant to the times and the future, and we'll be quite happy to hear from you. So you can call us 1-868-778-5141, 1-868-779-2544, or email us at leadershipwithadifference@gmail.com. So we stand ready and we subscribe to the Scout motto, and myself being a former Scout, and the motto of the Scout movement is be prepared. So we are prepared once you call, once you email, to offer our services to you. So today's presentation is also on the topic of fear, and the topic is We cannot run away from our fears, and we must really find a way to deal with them. We cannot run away from our fears, and we must find a way to deal with them. So fear is a basic emotion that we all experience, probably even on a daily basis, all right? And there is a debate, there is the argument whether we are born with this inbuilt emotion, because when you look at it, if you think of a baby, you know, when not in the presence of familiar faces, become fearful. If a baby is placed in the dark, the baby becomes afraid. So those examples are signs of inbuilt, innate fears that they were born with. And the other argument is that, you know, fears can be acquired. So there was an example from, you know, one of the psychology texts that I teach from, where written by Khaled James, where he explained that, you know, monkeys in the wild tend to be fearful of snakes. Laboratory monkeys tend to have no such fear. So they did an experiment where they had a monkey from the wild exhibiting that fear for snakes in the presence of a monkey in the lab. And after they were separated, the monkey in the lab that did not previously exhibit such fears was in fact, you know, exhibiting those fears. So that's also that was an illustration to show where in some instances, you know, fear is acquired. So the question of fears, you know, we cannot get away from it, whether it's innate, whether it's acquired, we cannot, you know, escape it. All right. Khaled also referenced the fact that, you know, most human beings have a serious fear for snakes. Now, the interesting thing about snakes is that not all snakes are poisonous, but most of us as human beings, I guess barring a few, probably trained in the area, etc., of dealing with these animals, you know, have a fear for snakes. So once you hear snake, you know, in the Caribbean context, it's bring the cutlass, you know, find a way of you know, ending the existence of the snake, because that fear is indeed a very deep-seated fear. So Khaled James argued that you know, most people did not have a safe experience with snakes or spiders, etc. So the question of fear is all around us, but we can look at it in other contexts. Individuals sometimes are filled with self-doubt, and because of that self-doubt, probably stemming from low self-esteem, etc., they are fearful sometimes to step out and deal with life, you know, and it impedes their progress personally and otherwise, because, you know, every time they think about stepping forward, they are considering the factors that may, you know, prevent them from moving forward. So this is why I said in the motivational role, you know, we need to understand and identify and understand where our fears are coming from, and find ways, either personally or professionally, to help us to overcome those fears, because we want to be our best selves, we want to be the most productive, so that, you know, we need to have it managed and put forth our best selves so that we can benefit, you know, in a full way from life's experiences. So fear can also arise from a lack of knowledge. You know, when you think of social relations, sometimes groups fear each other, not because there is anything to fear, but sometimes because of a total lack of knowledge. That is why in previous broadcasts I mentioned in the context of the Caribbean, where ancestral studies is very, very important, you know. Studying that area is very, very important, because, you know, the more we can know about each other, I guess it can contribute to lessening the fears that we harbor, and lots of cases, you know, unjustified fears. All right? So we need to really recognize that, knowledge, the attainment of knowledge, could create a whole different mindset. It could create a more enlightened view rather than a primitive view or view arising from, stereotypical positions, etc. that, poisons our outlook to other groups in the society. So having such studies in the school curriculum within the Caribbean across the world, I think it's a very important step in terms of lessening the fears that will exist among groups. Also, having those groups involved collaboratively, working on things, whether in a fun way or in a more focused way in terms of national development. All of these kinds of actions can help to lessen fear. All right. So the fear can, obviously be acquired, and it can be socially conditioned from lack of knowledge. It can stem from doubt, low self-esteem, and we need to really come to terms with addressing fear. Because if you think of another scenario, a very real scenario, students who have to do an exam, all right? Once that student is highly anxious, it creates a very troubling situation for them. That the amygdala, which is part of the emotional center of the brain and the emotional evaluator, it tends to be on high alert in anticipation of a threat, and then the two-way communication between the emotional center and the frontal cortex is impeded. So your thinking is not clear, and you are totally governed by emotions. And as a result of that, you may be well prepared, but because of the heightened anxiety, you cannot remember anything. And when the exam is over, where the sympathetic nervous system, now calms down, the parasympathetic nervous system that promotes relaxation kicks in, you find you are there and then remembering everything, but at that point, it will be too late. And similarly, athletes who are performing in pressured events like the Olympics, those who are more anxious than those who are relaxed, those who are anxious, they hardly really end up among the medals. So we are seeing real practical examples how debilitating that fear can be, and it's in our best interest to really address it. Because oftentimes, the fear that can be triggered in us, we may not have direct control over it. Let me use another example. We know about pit bulls in the Caribbean here, in the Trinidad context, the Caribbean context, I guess across the world, a very vicious dog. Just hearing the name sometimes engenders fear. Looking at how some of them look also, it's a fearful thing. And if you have to come face to face with one, immediately without you being in control of the situation, you'll be overcome by fear, right? Where your sympathetic nervous system that regulates the major organs such as the heart, the lungs, and the digestive system. Immediately you will have increased heart rate, increased respiration, blood flow from the digestive system will be redirected to the extremities of the body. And then in conjunction with the endocrine system, you'll have the release of a lot of hormones, right? So the sympathetic nervous system working in conjunction with the endocrine system is referred to as the autonomic nervous system. And the word autonomic suggests that it is involuntary, it is beyond our control. And we, because of the fear engendered by coming face to face with a pit bull, two things can happen. You can run, can we outrun a pit bull? That may not necessarily work out. Or we have to stand and fight. Now if we are armed, we might be willing to stand and fight. But if we are unarmed, the fear we have can cause all sorts of reactions. Either we run so fast that even Usain Bolt can defeat us, or sometimes we can become paralyzed with fear and remain right on the spot and be at the mercy of the pit bull. So the various scenarios I have outlined is to show you that the fear, the point of fear, it can emanate from many different angles, and identifying, understanding the context, understanding what is happening with us, because we need to be in control of a situation. And when we are fearful, obviously, we are not in control. Fear is now the dominant factor there. So if we are to really contribute in the manner that we would like to, we have to identify it, understand it, and most significantly, find solutions to address fear. So psychologists use in the area of behavioral therapy, therapeutic measures, interventions. They address this fear in terms of giving persons the ability to cope. And one of the methods that they use is systematic desensitization, where the object of your fear, you are gradually exposed to it over time. And ideally, the ideal outcome is that over time, you will become desensitized to that fear. Alright? So that's a method we could see having some validity in it. That's a gradual exposure. In some cases, like if you have a severe fear for snakes, it will first promote relaxation exercises, so that when you are confronted with the object of your fear, you'll be in a much relaxed state and a better position to deal with the presence of the snake. Right? So with that gradual exposure and you being in a relaxed state, over time certainly it can help you to overcome that fear of snakes. Now the other one is what we call flooding or implosion, where you are given a full blast of the object of your fear, and the reason why they call it flooded, you become flooded with fears. And again, we bring back in the role of the sympathetic nervous system. When you are subjected to the object of your fear in such a manner, it triggers off heightened heart rate, respiration, increase in body temperature. And as I said earlier, a while ago, the release of a lot of hormones, cortisol, adrenaline, etc., into the bloodstream that prepares you for what they call the fight or flight response. Now, some people become so fearful as a result of the activation of the sympathetic nervous system in conjunction with the endocrine system, referred to as the autonomic nervous system, that they feel that they will experience a heart attack. If it is that they survive that experience, over time they come to realize that if they could survive such an outcome, well, certainly they can survive a repeat exposure. So this is the impact of the sudden exposure to the object, and given your experience, that whole physiological response, once you become comfortable enough to realize you can manage it, again, the ideal outcome is to be in a position where you would not be as overwhelmed and non-functional. So the end of my presentation today, I wanted to reference the current situation that we are living through. Now, at the end of December 2019, the world first heard of this coronavirus emerging out of Wuhan in China. And for the first month or two, I would say that we were overcome with fear. But by March of the following year, March 2020, the situation became more concerning for all citizens of the world. And one of the reasons, there was a lot of unknowns, all right? And we had to resort to, a total restructuring of how we normally operate, working from home, not engaging with each other, which is still, in existence to a large extent. But because of the increased knowledge about the virus, because of the presence of vaccines, etc., the initial response of a lot of persons, because of the overwhelming fear, the fear was really paralyzing. And certain persons were so fearful of, a couple of individuals I spoke with, that they were not leaving their homes under no circumstances whatsoever. All right? And people were under a heightened state of anxiety because they were fearful of contracting the virus, of dying from the virus. Because every day you are hearing the reports all over the world and the very traumatic situation of the numbers of persons who are dying. Now, almost 2 years on, so almost about 5 million lives have been lost, which are a lot of lives. But the point I'm saying is that the level of physical and mental discomfort that person will have experienced because of the initial outbreak and the lack of knowledge. As I remember, one of the points I mentioned earlier on is that a lack of knowledge could contribute a lot to fear. So with increased knowledge, people have come to recognize that, all right, we can live with the virus. We've got to play our part. Those who are going along the pathway of vaccination and all of the other protocols, washing hands, keeping your distance, wearing your mask, etc. These are the measures in conjunction with the vaccines that are available that have engendered greater confidence among more persons. Of course, there's a lot of unknown still, but I'm using that as an illustration to show you from a point of very little knowledge to increased knowledge, and by having certain things that we can actually follow, it has given us a calmer state and in a better position to coexist. So what actually happened in the initial point, we could say that implosion or flooding was the method, if you're looking at that as a method, where because of that sudden exposure to citizens of the world, we were flooded with fear, all right? And over time, because of that kind of exposure, we have now reached a point where we are more comfortable. Of course, discomfort has not disappeared because by and large, we are far off in terms of functioning how we should. Some countries more than others have opened up more. Trinidad and Tobago today is trying to open up a bit more. But life has changed, and as we know, when things change, they don't really return. So expecting a return to the old ways, I believe we'll be kind of pushing it a bit far. It's a question of dealing with the fear, identifying it, learning to manage it, and reimagining the different world that we are now living in. All of these steps will certainly help in putting us in a position to still continue to be productive citizens. Because COVID-19 or not, life has not stopped. All right? So yes, we as human beings are fearful of a number of things, including this virus, without doubt, but we have learned to live with it. We got to overcome a lot of other fears that others may not know about, but what you know about. If you can address it, if you can't address it, professional help is always available. There are techniques, and there is support. You have your immediate support system, all right? And I have been promoting the idea that we need to cultivate what I coin circles of healers, all right? Long ago, in Trinidad, in other parts of the Caribbean, we had elders playing a significant role where people, or traditional African societies or Asian societies, the role of elders, elder councils, where they will discuss issues of the community and try to find resolution. All of these things are important support systems in helping people deal with their fears. Of course, with all the increased fallout from COVID-19, psychological services have come to the fore, and those kind of services need to be widespread, whether it's community centers across the board, health centers, in different areas within a community where it can be easily accessed, because many people really need help sometimes, particularly when they are overwhelmed with their fearful circumstances. So, I know as usual, this message was well received, it resonated with you, and because of that, I know subscribing to the channel is an easy course of action. So we ask you to subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video, comment on the video, and remember the motivational word. Identifying and understanding our fears is a step in the right direction for peace of mind and a productive life. So we thank you for listening, and we ask you to invite your friends and associates to subscribe to the channel, and we also advise you to tune in next week for a continuation of this topic. Remember, we can be contacted at 1-868-778-5141, 1-868-779-2544, or we can be emailed at leadershipwithadifference@gmail.com. So go forward, and as the old saying goes, courage is not a lack of fear, but acting bravely in spite of. So summon your courage, summon your purpose, and go forward and be recognized in the world. Thank you, and see you next week.